Us.
Good evening.
Shirona, I've just mentioned the poll that took place last week. Take us through that process, because you've got the student representatives now saying that they will completely disregard that outcome. So let's just step by step take us through it, considering the fact that the IEC had backtracked on taking part and you then brought in an independent auditor.
Okay, so the idea of the poll was really to get a sentiment check on what students and staff really wanted. So the SRC said that they were representing students, but from what we understand, at any one given time, there was about 1,000 students who were protesting. That was at the height of the protest. So we'd say anything from 200 to 1,000. We needed to know what the other 36,000 students wanted. And it's for this reason that we decided to do a poll. Now, it was never a referendum, it was always a poll. The students, represented by their lawyer, Advocate Darlene Pofu, then took us to court on Wednesday night, and in the early hours of the morning, the judge ruled that the university could go ahead with the poll. So it's really for us to get an indication of what the sentiment was like amongst students and staff. The staff poll came in today. We've got very preliminary results, which showed that 91% of staff who responded want to go back to campus tomorrow, and 8% don't want to, 1% sent through blank emails. So that's an indication of where we are. In terms of the student polls, the results, as you said, were 77% want to go back to class, 23% who responded do not want to go back to class. Now, the issues around the poll are something that have been raised by student leaders. We have presented these to the auditing company, and they have taken them into consideration. After all of that, they've still verified the results of the poll. I can take you through those issues if you wish.
We don't have a lot of time, but something that I want to look at, and we spoke to you last week during the protest though, and you were saying that you do have contingency plans in terms of beefing up security, etc. Can you take us through that for the students that want to go back to school but are still, a little bit apprehensive considering the violence that sometimes, takes place during these protests, and the fact that the SRC says they will continue with the protest regardless of the outcome of the poll?
Okay, so there are two things we've got here. So we've got a group of students who are saying that the protest must continue. We've got some academic staff, I'd say they're represented by the academic union, who are saying they don't want security and police on campus. On the other hand, we've got the majority of students and staff who don't feel safe if there isn't private security and police. So it's not an ideal situation either way. What we've decided to do is to go with the security and the police presence so that everyone can feel comfortable, except for those groups who oppose it. What we'll do afterwards is a phased approach where we move away from the security and the police. The way we're going to do this is saying, if there's no disruption to university activities, if there's no threat of violence, if no one's life is threatened, if there is no destruction of property, and if the SRC and others agree that anyone caught doing any or vandalizing anything or harming anybody, that they be taken to task immediately, then we will let all police and security forces leave our campus. So that's what we've agreed to. As a compromise, we've asked the police to stay on the perimeter of the campus, not to come onto campus unless things get out of hand or it's something that we cannot manage internally. Now remember, we've got no control over the police. They follow their own commanders and their own chain of command. Whereas with the private security, despite what happened last week, where we saw some private security throwing stones at students and vice versa, at least we've got a measure of control over them.
Now, as it stands right now, with how things are looking, are you planning to continue with the academic program as normal? So exams will start when they were set to start and the exam timetable remains as is?
No, so we've had to move the academic program. We've put in place contingency plans to ensure that we complete the academic program this year still. We've also had to move out the exam dates, and we will be announcing all the new dates and the contingency plans for examinations for graduations in the next day or two.
Shirona, unfortunately, we've run out of time. Thank you very much for joining us and giving us an update on this story.
You're welcome. Thank you.
That was the Wits spokesperson, Shirona Patel, joining us for more on that decision to resume the academic program this week. We'll have more news for you at 8 o'clock, but first, it's Network.